you're an US educated lawyer, to teach, what you would do is you would do a teaching fellowship, and then you would have access to the teaching opportunities. But in Europe, if you want to teach and do research, you have to have a PhD.
So, welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Daria Levina, how are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for hosting me. I am very, very good. Thank you.
Good. So, it's funny, people usually come on these calls and they're like in a suit, and then I'm in my sweatshirt. And so, I'm glad that we are both relaxed because lawyers, we're still lawyers, even if we're in a sweatshirt, right?
Agreed.
So, Daria, would you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a lawyer and academic. I'm based in Berlin. I've changed quite a few places in the past 7 or so years. I studied first in Russia, then in the US. I did a PhD in Italy, and I've moved recently to Berlin. I also own a business. I am an admissions advisor for graduate and postgraduate programs. And I do stand up on the side.
What? I love that. I just read a business marketing book, and he talked about how you should do stand-up comedy. He said that like it makes you a better business person. It makes you like more like free flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely see that spillover.
Yeah. Do you love it? What's it like?
Yeah, I've been doing that a bit less than a year.
Okay.
And I get to process my experiences in so many unusual ways. I find it just very therapeutic. And I also find that whenever I have something difficult that I'm going through, writing a joke about it puts me in such a different state of mind that when I come back to the problem that I'm facing, I usually find a solution that I didn't see before.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like writing out the joke helps you process it, and then when you share it with other people, you're processing it again. So
Yes.
yeah, it's like your own little form of like therapy or something.
Definitely. And I did a lot of conventional therapy and it's helped. But comedy is just such a new way to look at things and to think of things. And also, comedy shows you how much of the creative process is actually collaborative, because you can think that your jokes are amazing, but you have to have the audience agree with you with this. So,
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Okay, so you got a PhD in Italy. Was this after law school?
yes, I had 2 law degrees before that. I had my first law degree and then I had a master's from the US. I studied at Harvard Law School. And I also worked for a few years before I did my PhD.
Yeah. So I definitely want to touch on the different degrees, but I'm mostly thinking about all these different climates you've lived in. What was your favorite place that you lived in? Was it Italy? Is it Berlin? Was it Massachusetts? Where?
I think, so I have an ability to see and appreciate beauty in every place that I live in. And I think I took away a lot from each. For instance, I love in Italy how really good life shouldn't be expensive. Like it's sort of an Italian motto. Like you should have access to good food and coffee and sunshine and all of that. And it's just there. Most of the things are very cheap. And that was a new way, because I think both in Russia and the US, I saw that you have to be privileged to have a good life. And Italy was very refreshing in that sense. I like Berlin a lot because it just has such an atmosphere of freedom. You have a huge alternative scene there. Even lawyers are a little bit more alternative here, I
Yeah.
find.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good perspective that you can like find beauty in wherever you are. Like kind of, oh, I enjoyed this part and I enjoyed that part. So let's talk about the 2 law degrees. So you have a Juris
Mm-hmm.
Doctorate, and then you went and got what we commonly call like an LMM, which
Yeah,
was your
exactly.
master's. Yeah. What were you planning to do with those degrees?
Yeah, when I started studying law, I had no clue as to what lawyers do, because I was very young at the time. I was 17 when I graduated high school. and I just liked the analytics and just the abstract thinking of law. The way I got into law was that I participated in competitions. We had them in all subjects, including high school, because like some high schools they taught introduction to law, and for some reason I performed really well, and I liked just how it engaged my brain. I did not know like the applications of law. And when I graduated, I worked for a couple of years as a dispute resolution lawyer. I worked for a German law firm, and I really enjoyed it. It was a medium-sized firm, so I had a good work-life balance there. And when I went to the US, I did a lot of conflict of laws, a lot of civil procedure, just in a common law sense, and that was my main area of specialty.
Okay. Yeah, and so why did you decide to get that second degree, the master's in law? Were you looking to like hone in on like conflict resolution, or was it something that was specific that would build on what you had been doing?
Yeah, so I had a few friends who did LLMs in different parts of the world, and I myself was drawn so much to international opportunities. My university had a few scholarship programs, and I went to study on a scholarship a few times. Once in the UK, once in France, once in Germany. And at some point, I just felt that I wanted to have that full immersion, and I wanted to live for an extended period of time in a different country and study. And the US, it was so unexplored for me because I felt like I understood Europe by that time, and I sort of satisfied my curiosity. And I applied to several US schools, and like I didn't have a very deep understanding of the entire American landscape of
Yeah.
universities. I just there were just universities that I've heard of the most, so I thought it would be safest. It would be safer to apply to those universities because I know they exist and they have a reputation. And I got into NYU and Harvard, and I managed to raise money through scholarships and multiple other ways. That was my thinking behind doing the second degree.
Okay. And I think that makes sense, right? So NYU, New York University, which is in New York City, and then Harvard, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Very large, very metropolitan, very fast, right? I currently live in Ohio. It's very slow. There's 9 law schools in Ohio, but it would have been completely different than Europe. You probably would have been like, what in the world? Or you might have loved it, right? You might have loved it.
Yeah.
But I think that makes sense that you went to places you had heard of.
Yes, and actually, I think it was in a way that ignorance, because like when you look from outside, there is only so much you can learn. And I did a lot of research, but it just still being an outsider influences the information you are able to get. And I think in many ways it felt protective, because if I knew more, I think I would I would never apply to the top 14 universities. I would just think like, where am I and
Yeah.
where are those universities?
Yeah. But that's part of the hype and the reputation of them, right? Most people are going to be too intimidated to even apply. And then other people who apply, it's still a smaller pot that actually get in. So that is part of it. It's part of it. Okay. So you mentioned something I want to talk about. Did you go straight from high school or like a secondary education to law school? You didn't have to do like a college or anything in between?
No, it's not how it works in Russia. You usually finish high school and you start university right away. That's a very common thing to do. So I didn't have any break.
I love that. No, so I went to high school and then I went to college for 3 years and then I worked for about 3 years and then I went to law school. So I was like 28 when I started. Okay, cool. All right. So conflict resolution and disputes. Did you like that practice of law?
I think I like a lot the substance of international dispute resolution. I like the contractual issues that are involved. I like solving like the puzzles of what law is applicable. That's a lot of what I've done. I don't like very much like actually going to courts and like that very litigious mindset that you need to be in. It's really not my style. I like finding solutions and common ground. Also working on the argumentation. That part I really like. but the procedural part I didn't enjoy very much.
Yeah, it's usually so adversarial too. You know, when you're in
Hmm.
trial. Yeah. It's like, my guy's
Exactly.
right. No, your guy's right. No, my guy. And it's like, relax. Okay,
Yes,
cool.
and it destroys so much of the relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do you take what you did in law school and then what you did working at the firms and use that in academia now? How do they kind of combine?
I actually think there is a lot of transferability. For instance, I see that I am very precise with my language, and not many academics are that, because academic style of writing is that, like, it's based on a premise that you have all the time in the world, no deadlines,
Yeah.
and you own the attention of your readers. Because I work in such fast environments, I'm used to be very economical with my words, and I say what I need to say, and I use only so many words that I need to and no more, and I don't waste anybody's time, and that's very important for me. And I
Yeah.
think it also helps me be very clear with my arguments.
Okay. I can see that, right? One of my favorite compliments is like when people say you're really concise or you're really efficient. And I'm like, thank you, thanks. I've worked really hard at it. But no, for lawyers, they teach us that, right? They teach us to
Mhm.
write the thing, cut the fluff, remove half of the words, and like really say what you're trying to say. So yeah, I think that's
Exactly.
a great skill. Yeah. Okay. So what is a typical day like for you, or do you have a typical day?
Yeah, actually, I think now it depends so much on what projects I prioritize, because sometimes I prioritize academic projects, and at the moment I'm writing a book on the basis of my PhD thesis, and there's a grant or a few grants that I want to apply for my future research. So a few days of the week I prioritize them, and I do research for those projects and writing. And then on other days, I prioritize my admissions advising business. It's really a passion project of mine, and I've been doing it for many years on a volunteer basis just because I wanted to help other people apply for graduate study. And for the past year or so, it is a business, and I'm treating it as a business. And there's a lot of seasonality that comes with it. So when it's an application season, I prioritize it, and there is a lot of one-on-one work when I meet with people in Zoom, and either I give a consultation if that's what they need, or I help them ideate for their essays, or I do some editing. But those are like the main types of activities that my days consist of.
Yeah, I love that. I love to have flexibility over my schedule. That is like my favorite thing in the world. And I think that a lot of business owners kind of lose that part because they're just like, I'm so
Mhm.
stressed. It's all my responsibility. And it's like, but it's all your responsibility and you're in control. So you get to do this today, or you get to do that tomorrow, or you get to like enjoy the off season or anticipate, admission season, right?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
So, with your business, I have two questions that are jumping at me. Is getting a PhD more difficult than law school? Or no, because you're just a voracious learner. You just always like to learn new things.
I think for me, it worked really well because first of all, because I started having 3 years of litigation experience in a law firm. And what it did for me was that I never treated a PhD as this like huge looming project, that I need to do. I was like very clear on sub projects and thing that I needed to do next. Very good at chunking it down and only focusing on one thing at a time. Because a lot of PhD students, they struggle with it because they think that, well, I'm doing a PhD, like that's huge thing. And second is that I am very good with self-direction. I hate following orders. I am very well suited for independent work. And for
Yeah.
me, PhD was because of that easier because I didn't have like weekly deadlines like in law school, or I was able to give my all to this project that I chose myself.
Yeah. Is that what you meant by you were able to chunk it down? You're able to be responsible for your time and make sure you're getting it done. You didn't need someone to kind of like micromanage you.
Yes, and also I was able to split the thesis into chapters and research work packages or like writing packages, like all of that, and just really focus on one thing at a time. I think that really worked well for me.
Yeah. And are you able to share what is the subject of your thesis?
Yes, so I wrote about an institution that is a hybrid of international arbitration and the state court. Again, there is a type of institution called international commercial courts, and they are specialist commercial courts that are usually part of the state court structure, but they incorporate a lot of arbitration like features. And there has been in the past 20 years a trend among dozens of governments that established such courts. Very often they are like established arbitration centers, such as Paris or London or Singapore. Sometimes there is no correlation, but I studied that phenomenon, and I had 4 case studies for jurisdictions that created courts like this. And I interviewed judges there and other people who were involved in the creations of those courts. And the main question I was trying to answer was why we are seeing this trend now, why so many states established this particular type of court now.
I don't think I'd realized that you could do like your thesis on legal stuff. I always hear some like, lofty ideas from people. But that's kind of cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so with a PhD, is it in a specific discipline?
Yes, it was like PhD in law.
Oh, okay. Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. That makes sense. I guess I just don't know that much about PhDs. I'm going to have to do some research.
So in the US, it is called an SJD.
Okay.
And the thing is that usually if you're an US educated lawyer, to teach, what you would do is you would do a teaching fellowship, and then you would have access to the teaching opportunities. But in Europe, if you want to teach and do research, you have to have a PhD.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. That explanation helps. Okay, cool. So I want to wrap up by talking about your business. What is the name of your admission support business? How do you use your law degree in that business?
Sure. So the business is actually called Harvard State of Mind. Uh, I spent a lot of time thinking how to name it, and I really don't like the elitism of top universities in the world, and I wanted to convey the idea that it should be more accessible. And I also wanted it to be separate from my name. I wanted it to be to have another name. I started just as a helping friends and reviewing their essays, and it grew into a library of courses and guides and articles. A part of it is also my consultancy, where I help people one-on-one. It's something that is very, very dear to my heart, because for me, education has been pretty much the only means of upward social mobility that was available. And I disagree with a lot of obstacles that people face when they want to get education, especially because in the capitalist economic framework, you need education to get a job, to create a life for yourself, to support your loved ones. So it is something that can transform your life. And I wanted to make that accessible. And that has been the primary driver. I think like my law degree is actually very handy here because, again, the writing, a huge part of that project is writing. And I do see how like all of the skills that I acquired as a lawyer, writing all the briefs, and they translate into how I write, because I try to be very precise and on point with my advice. And I have a huge network of lawyers from all the countries where I lived, and that's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think earlier you had called it a passion project. So I feel like even the fact that you get to take time away from studying and learning and being so strategic to do this, right? You get to enjoy the editing, you get to enjoy helping them getting to school. I think it's good because I think that lawyers are really creative. And so this business kind of, it was created naturally when your friends started asking you, and then you kind of grew it and expanded it. And yeah, now everyone should have, you said, a Harvard state of mind?
Yes.
Yes. And do you work with international students or only students in Europe or what?
So actually, I define my target audience based on where they want to go and not where
Okay.
they're from. And I
Okay.
do have a very international client base. Mostly people who either want to go to the US because I myself studied there, so they see that they have that expertise, and or people who want to do arbitration and litigation because that's also part of what I've done. I would say those are the main target demographics, all from very
I,
different parts of the world.
yes, I think that is so cool. Business owner, PhD student, former practicing attorney. Well, we call them attorneys here, and always a lawyer. Always a lawyer. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. All right. So, Daria, I really appreciate talking to you today. I know everyone's going to love hearing all about a Harvard state of mind and honestly being inspired, right? Lawyers love to learn and we love to edit and we love to do all the things. And so I love the fact that you just keep going and learning and putting it all to use,
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me. It's been
Of
such a
course.
pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I will talk to you later.